are the children of God.
Usually I start off this with bluster and I try to start off this with high energy, but for the past year, the United States has been going through a lot of turmoil, a lot of distress. It's not been good. And joining me today is, especially for people out in Minnesota. So joining me today is my good friend. I call him my cousin because if you're Filipino, you just call your peoples your cousins. Joining me today is Antonio Teodoro. He's an actor working out in Minnesota. Um, man, I just want to tell you I care about you and I hope you're taking care of yourself. But to start off this show, I thought it would be great if Antonio like shared something he wrote, and the floor is yours, my man.
Alrighty, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. We're holding out here in the Twin Cities as best we can, and you'll hear my voice is a little fried because I was leading chants at the vigil for when Alex Prady the other night. But before that, actually, on the 19th of January, and a little bit before that even, I wrote a piece about a certain other someone who killed another member of the Minnesota community. And so this is called Jonathan Ross. You know my name's Jonathan Ross. You've seen me on the news. For the deed I did that fateful day has had millions of views. And yet, although you've read my name and think you know no more, the truth is that you've seen me many, many times before. When 3 men said a king would come to set his people free, I rode down into Bethlehem at King Herod's decree. The parents wept and begged me not to send their babes to die, but they must be killed, lest one boy have a father in the sky. Then west of there, in Europe, with all trust replaced by doubt, I donned my armor and dispatched to drive the Jewish out. Whether from England or from Spain, I really don't recall. What matters is I drove them home, if they had won it all. Then further north and westward, on that island green and fair, I took up arms for Cromwell, and I fought the Catholics there. I drove the men into a steeple, cooked them all alive, then butchered their wives and children, all for my great homeland's pride. In May of 1830, the Americans would see just what my wrath and fury would do to those Cherokee. The Seminoles, Muskogee, Chickasaw, and Choctaw, too, would come to know just what my hands and armaments could do. And just 3 decades later, I'd create more battle scars as I proudly served my noble cause under those stars and bars. I marched with Stonewall Jackson to defy Lincoln's decree, for he'd not let me own people, and I liked my property. And even when that cause was lost, I still won anyway. I just wore white robes and a hood instead of southern gray. I terrorized the newly freed, lest they enjoy their wins, and I turned them into strange fruit, since they won't use cotton gins. And back across the ocean, I thought it was only right to slip on that red armband and defend mein Führer's Reich. I profiled, arrested, and detained thousands a day, and I shot down any criminal who tried to get away. Upon the planet's other side, amidst the leaves and mud, all from Luzon to Mindanao, the ground was red with blood. I tortured and I murdered and I laughed as children cry, and the girls made themselves ugly just so they'd not catch my eye. Over another continent in 1994, I helped Hutu militias kill 500,000 more. I butchered and assaulted till they drove us all away, but they still feel my presence there up to this very day. Back over in the Holy Land, I then rejoined the fight and fired off artillery to set Gaza alight. Those schoolyards, homes, and hospitals had terrorists within. At least, we think it's possible. Won't matter once we win. So now you know I've many names. Though you know only one, it's most important you recall the newest deed I've done. My name remains Jonathan Ross. Remember, if you would, that I'm the fascist bastard who murdered Renee Good.
Thank you for that, brother. I appreciate that,
No problem.
man. Absolutely, bro. just heard my cousin Antonio just speak from the heart. Beautiful poem you wrote there, man. Yeah, like I said at the start, these are trying times, but these have been trying times. The and going through this up there, man, and I know like there's like this feeling of self-preservation when you go up there, and you went through the vigil and you did all that, man. My question for you is, how you doing?
Well, ain't that the question? But yeah, I mean, it's could be better, could be worse. This whole city's kind of on edge right now. People aren't going out as much. People don't want to hang out in public as much, but people haven't completely shut off, even with how cold it is. For those who aren't familiar, it's been well below 0 degrees Fahrenheit all week. In fact, most days it's below -10. When I went to the vigil the other night after the death of Alex Prady, it was at its highest during the vigil, -10. And
Damn.
people were still out there. People were out there for hours upon hours. I arrived there at 6, and when I had to leave to get ready in case I was called for work the next day, that was 8:30, and the crowd showed no signs of dispersing. So
Hey,
people
man.
were people were still dedicated out there. And at the site of the vigil, I mean, the shops around, a few of them had decided to stay open late just so that they could help people out. There were people handing out water. There were folks letting people step inside stores to warm up, people handing out hand warmers. And the whole thing stayed very civil. There was one point in which someone tried to start a burn down Fort Snelling chant, but that never really caught on.
Hmm.
Um, of course, that one clip made the news, but just
You
know
know
that
how it
that
works.
lasted 5 seconds. But yeah, the whole city, I've been really impressed. People are really standing up. I mean, they showed out the day before the shooting of Alex Brady. All of downtown Minneapolis was full to bursting. The theater that I'm currently working with in my acting work, the Guthrie, they decided that they were going to still remain open during the main day of the strike, right before the death of Alex Brady. But they were giving all their employees the option to call out that day. And
Mm.
so many did, they ended up just canceling the show that day
Mm.
because basically every staff member chose to participate in the strike.
Hey, man, that's beautiful. That's unity, and we're seeing now sort of the blowback of all that, trying to call these people who just were using their civil rights, using their the First Amendment rights, the Second Amendment rights, the Fourth Amendment rights, and get killed for just acting legally with being within their legal means. And we're seeing the blowback now where people are being removed from power, people are being scapegoated, and you know it takes one spark to start something, and unfortunately usually it takes someone being a martyr for a cause to have a cause. And Minnesota is not even a state that was in need of any of this like intervention. It just came off you know like he was coming for Tim Walz, was coming for Ilhan Omar, just coming for the state that stood against the the bullshit. And you
I will
you
say there is a big immigrant community here in the Twin Cities, but it's entirely a legal immigrant one.
yeah,
These are not people who are just like slipping a fence. I mean, after all, we're the northernmost state in the mainland United States. This is not a thing people do. The Somali communities that he's targeted heavily, all of those people are citizens. Most
yeah,
of them were born in the United States.
yeah, it's a population of 100,000. Like it's it's a blip in that city that and it's just targeted attacks on these people who don't deserve it. And Minnesota's always been like a refugee country, like dating back to the Vietnam War, the Khmer Rouge. And that's why we see such a higher population of like Vietnamese, Hmong, Cambodians in the Minnesota area is because they were open as like to refugees.
We're
And
talking
like,
about a state that was largely founded by veterans of the American Civil War,
yes,
fighting
sir.
on the Union side, mind you.
Yeah. And it takes a lot for me to, it doesn't take a lot to wrap my head around like what's going on and all that stuff because like you said in your poem, like tyranny goes back centuries, man. It goes back millennia. And it's always you need an enemy so that you can have the masses at your back to have your support. And it just so happens right now, they're trying to make the enemies Americans. And the last time that happened, I believe that resulted in civil war, and that's just it. And I think the last time this also happened in America was like McCarthyism, and it's so weird to come after people who are here illegally who've done nothing to like these populations, immigrant populations, because I'm a child of immigrants. Immigrant populations do not make up the majority of people who go to prison or make up of like all these bad criminals. Uh, the So the people who like ICE usually would have detained and deported are people who are already in prison. So that's why they bring up the worst. That's why when they bring up the worst people, it's these murderers, rapists, drug dealers. It's because they're already in prison, facing sentences for those kind of crimes, and then they get deported. Well, they should be, unless like they have a really great lawyer. Um, and you sort of like put yourself right in this space, right? You voluntarily chose to go to Minnesota because of work. A lot of people do that. And I just think, there's this thing because I had this interaction with police when I was a teenager, right? I was 13, just walking around this beach city, and the white cop told me to come talk to him, and then he put me in cuffs and sat me down on the curb because I fit the description of a perpetrator. This big dorky dark brown Filipino kid in a Dragon Ball Z shirt and baggy shorts. No, he has to be a gang member.
Yeah.
And it's uh it's just and then like I lately I've been like I haven't really walked my dog because I see what happens when ice rolls up on you here in California and they're in unmarked vehicles and you could just be standing there and then you could just be eating a burger at In-N-Out and then all of a sudden you're in a detention center because you didn't have your passport. Um,
Yeah, my I've even actually gotten concerned family members calling me and asking me to make sure I take my passport with me everywhere.
yeah, because like as kids, right? As kids and as people who are children of immigrants, when people look at us, they're like, "Where are you from?" And then when you say your hometown, they're like, I'm from Rancho Cucamonga. No, I'm from Los Angeles. I'm from East LA. You're like, no, where are you really from? And
Yeah, I
like
remember the first time I got that one.
and like my brother Antonio, like he's biracial, so he's beautiful. I always call biracial people very beautiful people because they have all this like they have all this culture to running through their blood. Um, it's like you just sort of people ask it and they don't get that it's like it's sort of like a little they call it microaggression, but it's like you could ask that question like nicely. I was like, oh, so like what's your ethnic background? You could ask that nicely, like, oh, what part of the blah blah are you from? Or like, but like it's always like where are you from? Like when you say America, because my thing is I always said America and then I never flinch.
That's what I do. Because for me, I mean, part of this for me is being, the child of an interracial marriage. But
Yeah.
the I had hoped, maybe this was naive of me when I was a little kid, that we were moving towards a post ethnic and post racial society entirely, where we just stop using those as identifiers of people at all. Um, and to see the world basically move in the exact opposite direction is incredibly disappointed. I mean, the amount of rhetoric you see online about and just in general discussions about interracial relationships now. I was really hoping we'd be moving past this by this point.
Oh my God, that's it's so stupid, man. Love is love. People fall in love with whoever they want, even if like we always see we always make that joke in our community. Oh yeah, I've seen so many couples like a white guy with a Japanese girl, or a white guy with a Vietnamese girl, or a white guy with a et cetera, et cetera. Shout out to you, Mike. I know you listen to this show, Mike. But like it's totally you would think that we would live in that, especially like the way television was when you were growing up, how we saw like more representation on TV, whether that be from Black, Latino,
Remember the
Asians.
Filipino Prince Charming and the Cinderella?
Oh yeah, that's my wife, my Chinese American wife. That's her favorite version of Cinderella. We got a Black Cinderella with a Filipino Prince Charming. Like,
And
hey,
that's such a distant past now, it feels like.
yeah, and like we're sort of we're back in the world of
Asian
like.
leading man in a major Hollywood picture that isn't just like an Asian movie. I
Oh
mean,
man, that'd be great, man. Shout out to Simu for doing all the work that he does. We need more than just Simu, honestly. Like, like honestly.
well, that's what I've noticed being part of the arts, and this is especially prevalent in the theater. So, around the time when Hamilton first debuted, now I know we're getting a little off the immigration topic, but this will circle back around in a second. Trust me. Um, the There was a growing amount of pressure on the American theater industry to have more diverse and inclusive castings. People wanted, like, black actors and actresses, for example, wanted to have more roles available for them other than just the colored cast in Hairspray and Othello. They were hoping for a little more than that, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
People of color who were Hispanic wanted more opportunities than just the limited that they had, which in many cases was even less. And so the general response of the theater making crowd was, "Ugh, fine, we'll cast like three black or Hispanic people a show." And then after a little bit more pushback, they went, "Okay, fine, we'll start making shows with predominantly black casts or predominantly Hispanic casts. Uh, or we'll start doing race blind casting for certain musicals and certain like classical plays. But again, that's so that we can cast 2 to 4 black or Hispanic people." After even more pushback, they finally went, "Okay, we'll start casting uh, Asian women and casting the occasional Asian man in a supporting role." But in theater today, the Asian leading man in a show that isn't just an Asian show is basically non existent.
Shout out to you, John Briones. Like, that's the only name, bro. That's it. It's
Yeah.
him and the
And
dude
over in
from
Hollywood,
Cinderella.
there's
That's it.
basically always, every generation, there's the Asian man and the Asian woman.
Yeah.
Like, so there was Bruce Lee. And then after Bruce Lee, there was Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh were the sort of next generation up, respectively. And then you had the brief Lucy Liu stint following after Michelle Yeoh. And then now you've got Liu Simu as the it man of Hollywood. That's it man, not ip man. That's a different thing. Shout out Donnie Yen.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Love Donnie Yen in the John Wick 4. Also shout out to Michelle Yeoh for winning the Oscar.
yeah, she
Talking
should have
about
won it
like,
20 years earlier for Crouching
bro,
Tiger, but I digress.
yeah, like her representation of the Chinese mom, it was so like it hit so hard for my wife. Like it's like, and these stories, right? These stories that are told like that, like um you want that representation, right? But you don't want it to come at the cost of it being pandering or something like that. So like Everything Everywhere All at Once was not a pandering movie. It just happened to be a story where an Asian family, an Asian American mom and daughter were like, that was the story. Immigrant
And this is
family.
where
This is
this all comes back to immigration.
yeah.
I firmly believe, and growing up, I know a lot of people have sort of soured on it for very good reason. But when I was a little kid, I still believed in the American dream thing. I thought that was really freaking cool. And the idea of this country where, the tired, poor, huddled masses yearning to be free would come. And if you just worked hard and you were creative and you kept a good ethic and a good heart, you would eventually be able to succeed no matter what you looked like or how rich you were or where you were from. And that historically has been what got the US ahead was the um, was the diversity of the US. Like the idea that you could go to France, live there for 20 years and not be a Frenchman. You could go to England, live there for 20 years and not be an Englishman. You go to the US and you're American. That was how it was supposed to be. Unless you think I'm quoting some bleeding heart liberal, the person I'm quoting on that little phrase was famously liberal President Ronald Reagan.
My namesake, of course. Uh, that's uh my that's my grandma's favorite actor. I had a big crush on him when she was a little girl. It had nothing to do with any of his politics. She just thought he was handsome. That's why I got my name. Uh, and like I think there's just this how you say there's this cognitive dissonance, especially now where you have like people like the Osmond Golds, the Nick Fuentes, the Fresh and Fit guys, sort of fucking ashamed to our people, ashamed to Filipinos everywhere. Sneeko, talking about like having this white people should be in charge because they're the smartest and the best of us. And like when it
I
comes
mean,
to
look at
that
Jonathan Ross, who I mentioned earlier, Filipino
Filipino
wife.
wife, hey brother, there's this
I
you
just
go
like to
to
point out my dad's the Filipino one, my mom's the white one.
like there's
Shout
just
out my
this
dad.
shout out to Papa Teodoro. Like there's just this this whole misconception of like the interracial couple about like what it means, and there's a lot of things where we talk about those people who will sort of sell out our culture because like you have those people in your family, they marry white and all of a sudden they get all these weird conservative white ideals, and it's weird also when their partner is a super liberal and don't have those same ideals. It's very weird because a lot of
Yeah.
the times the white person who married this colored person is more of a liberal, free thinking, like love is love person, and then the person who married the white person is sometimes the person that's just like, oh, we need to keep like these values, blah blah. I succeeded in getting this white person, so I'm of a higher level than these other dirty brown people. Uh, this is a conversation that a lot of people don't have because we try to be nice, but usually the person that does all that stuff that talks about all the conservative stuff and that's like part of their personality, they sort of use like their white partner as like a, oh, now I can act white and be white and have all this access to whiteness, and it's sort of weird. It's really weird. It's not just like in the Asian American community, it's in a bunch of other communities, and I'm not judging interracial couples at all because I'm just saying like the ones who fall into that are it's sort of gross. And what's funny is Jonathan Ross's wife is also an immigrant. You
Yeah.
know, but Jonathan Ross didn't shoot an immigrant; he shot an American woman. So it's it's some trying times, man. And I just want to say like for me personally, I'm so happy that you're safe. I'm so happy that you're thriving. Um, you're currently in a production, right?
Yes, it's a show called Somewhere by Matthew Lopez. If you reckon, some people might recognize Matthew Lopez's name. His play, The Inheritance, won the Tony Award a few years back for Best Play. This is one
Oh,
of his earlier plays. Incidentally, it's about a family of Hispanic folks living in New York City. Now, it's been labeled an immigrant play. However, it should be noted that they're Puerto Rican, so they weren't really immigrants. They're only as much immigrants as someone moving from North Dakota to South Dakota would be.
Yeah, because people don't consider Puerto Ricans to be, part of the American
It's
thread.
part of the United States. they,
Yeah, yeah,
they don't
yeah.
know.
Like shout out to my partners that are wrestling Arturo. Like there's just this sort of what is American, right? That's always the question, especially like, for like these stage plays written about Asian American life and whatever other life thing. I recently watched this classic movie from my childhood called The Debut. It's about or, for the Americans, the debut. It's about like a Filipino American family. So they're going to like a little girl's debutante birthday, which is 18 years old, and if you're Filipino, you know. Dante Bosco, the rest of his brothers are in that film. Shout out to you, Dante. Like it's I think like for me, having that sort of representation on screen and like feeling like I we could just be in these movies as opposed to like I have to rent like a Filipino movie to see a Filipino person or rent a
Yeah.
kung fu movie to see a Chinese person. I
Listen, I'm hoping to change that, all right? One of these days, you're going to see me on screen playing Robin in the Batman movies. I'm calling it now.
Hey man, maybe you and Batista can get together. Yo, if Batista needs a son, hey, yo, Dave, Tito Dave, got a son, guy who can
Tito
play your son
Dave,
right
call
here.
me.
Yeah, it's yeah, man. I love to see people in creative positions. I got family that are like major actors in the Philippines who were born in America, but because it's America, they would have to move to the Philippines to get any roles. And it sucks there also because unless you're light skinned, you're not gonna get like a real role in the Philippines. But like I digress. Um,
Yeah.
there's just I'm so happy that you're working, man. I'm happy that you're thriving, and I hope more of that for you, man.
Yeah.
So like I just want to say thank you for coming on my show and sharing your time and your story with me, man. Usually on my shows I try to keep it a little lighthearted, and we had some fun here and there, but this is something that's really it's really important to talk about, and I really liked having someone that's there and experiencing that and being around this whole situation. Somebody that I know I can call my friend because yeah, man, you're my friend. And I care about you, man. So continue doing big things. Please preserve yourself, take care of yourself. You're doing the right thing, man, and I'm proud of you. I'm so proud of you. You have no idea how proud of you I am.
Thank you.
Um, Yeah, so where can people catch you on if they wanted to see you
Well, you
on
can
stage?
see me for now. Uh, I'm an understudy in somewhere, so there's a chance that I'll go on again. That ends February 1st. I'm in discussions for a few other gigs. You can find me on social media. My Instagram is at JATEODO. Um, I've
These
got a few
cute
other gigs coming
ladies.
up. I've got a movie that's coming out at some point this year for a wider release called Dead Media. It's a
Hey
horror
yo,
film. And then yeah, we'll see what the world holds next for me.
and check out his Instagram. This man is a cutie. You know, um, yeah, I'm not sure if you're single. I'm not gonna put your business out there. So, but if
I am single. I am
okay, so
too much of a romantic for the hookup scene. I don't
so
do that no more. I'm trying to find
hey,
one person, and that's a little harder these days.
hey man, so ladies, if you see Antonio out there, he's looking for romance. He's not looking for something empty. He wants a deeper connection. So
I'm a
come at
real
him.
yearner. What can I say?
Hey, what they say about us Filipinos is that we're very passionate lovers. So
I'm a good singer too.
hey, we the stereotypes is sometimes the stereotypes benefit you. So, but
Sometimes they're correct. All right.
Yeah, okay. The other stereotypes about us is that we're players who, who get around too much. That never applied to me. I love you, hon. You know. But like, other people. This has been like the plight of the Filipino American man in the Asian dating scene is that we're players. But Antonio is a good boy, so hit him up. If you're serious, if you're serious. But yeah, cousin, like, thank you for coming on here. This has been great, man, and yeah, talk to you.